Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to F1 2020 here for round 3 of season 3 of F1, the My Team career mode. The Spanish Grand Prix, typically an okay track for me. I'd say it's one of those ones where I feel like I'm okay at it, but it's not one of my favourite tracks. As you can see there, qualifying 1 we're getting through pretty easily. We're a second behind our teammate, which is a bit concerning going into this race. Obviously, beginning of last race of the Dutch Grand Prix, we became the fastest car. So my essential championship rival now is Daniel Ricciardo. So I don't want to be losing too many positions to him, as we in qualifying 2 we tried to qualify in a set of mediums. Unfortunately, only got us P11, so we're going to have to go out and start on a set of soft tyres, and we're up by nearly 6 tenths as we cross the line. We're going to easily get into qualifying 3 as we go P2 provisionally there. Still a second off my teammate, which is it's not looking good being a second away from Daniel, but hopefully in the race we'll have better pace as we start our final run in qualifying 3 here. Our banker time was a 1 minute 12.8 on a used set of soft compound tyres. We're going to go out on a fresh set now and start the lap, so we'll go through a lap of Spain. Heading down to turn 1, you want to brake around the 75 metre point. 4th gear, swing the car and make sure you ride both the curbs and use all the track space on the exit. Get the car nicely rotated for turn 3, don't run too wide otherwise you'll invalidate your lap. Now going down to turn 4, use all the entry space necessary. We missed the apex a little bit there, so we run wide. Luckily we don't touch the grass there, but we did lose quite a bit of time through that. We'll go into turn 5 now. We locked up a little bit. Through turn 6, it's not really a corner. Into turn 7 and 8, be careful not to run over the white lines, otherwise you'll get your track lap invalidated. With 3 tenths up here, so we go through turn 9, easily flat in modern Formula 1 cars. Now going through into turn 10, we're nearly 4 tenths up on our previous best as we run really deep there, but we managed to get the car rotated somewhat decently, so we're still about 3 tenths up. Now going through turn 13, I believe, through turn 14, we run quite wide there, but we are still gaining time, and now through the final chicane and onto the last corner we're going to improve by 5 tenths. We did get a pretty poor run out of the chicane, so we're going to lose a bit of time. It's going to be a half a second improvement, and it's going to be good enough for P4, I think. So a pretty disappointing Q3 actually, given the pace that we'd showed. As you can see, we're still a second away from Daniel, who's in the 1 minute 11s. I'm the only person that's not in the 1 minute 11s in the top 4, so a bit disappointing, but I know my race pace is definitely going to be stronger. I think we're going to go for a 2-stop. Don't know what Daniel will try and do. Obviously he's starting on the softs, so strategy isn't really going to play that much of a role in terms of if we beat Daniel, so it's just going to be on raw pace. But I think I've got to try and aim for P2 at best. I think worst case scenario is we don't move up any positions. But yeah, we've got to try and lose as little points to Daniel as possible if he's going to beat us this race. So lining up for the start of the race, as you can see there, it's going to be a soft medium strategy is the predicted one. I was trying to see if I could work a one stop, but that's definitely not going to happen around Spain. So we're actually going to do a different strategy here. I have a fresh set of softs that I do want to use. So we're going to do a soft, hard, soft strategy, I believe. Unless there is a safety car or we have decent tyre wear, in which case we'll do soft, medium, soft. But it's going to be difficult to stretch out that middle stint of mediums. Tyre wear is going to be quite high around here. I'm going to underfuel the car, obviously, just because we'll be saving fuel quite a bit around, especially the final sector here. And I believe we are going to do the two-stop. We might switch on to mediums, as I said, but that obviously really depends on tyre wear and where we are in the race. So what we're going to do now is try and hope that we get off to a good start against Ricciardo's. We've underfueled the car by a lap. And now we're getting ready for the start of the Spanish Grand Prix. We've got 3, 4, now 5 red lights, and it's lights out and away we go. We get a pretty shocking initial launch, but the second phase is absolutely amazing as we pull nearly alongside Hamilton, but he has much better straight line speed. We are running quite high downforce here for the race. Oh, the AI are just ridiculously quick in a straight line. As Valtteri is starting on the mediums actually, as we run off track there because of the dirty air. Hamilton and Valtteri going side by side. This is going to allow Ricciardo to pull away up front. As Hamilton gets his teammate going into turn 4, you see we're right on the back of Valtteri. We're going to hope to try and overtake him relatively quickly here because every lap we stay behind Valtteri, we're probably losing 1 to 2 seconds to Daniel up front. Just as the effect of dirty air in this game and the pace that Daniel has in our car. And hopefully we get past Valtteri soon as we cut on to the start of lap 2. We're going to hopefully put a move on him as we go to the outside here. Late braking into turn 1 and we managed to swing it around the outside of Bottas. So that was a pretty decent move there. We're currently 3 seconds behind our teammate. So yeah, we've lost quite a substantial amount of grounds. Now we're on lap 5. We're going to hopefully try and do the same move on Hamilton. As he goes defensive, we're going to go to the left hand side and go right around the outside of him. And there's a pretty simple move there. And now we're only 3.3 seconds behind Daniel. We're going to be pitting over the next couple of laps. So it's a bit annoying that we got held up behind the 2 Mercedes up front, because you can see there's a massive gaps that have been spaced out from everyone who's pitting. Daniel pits and he goes on to what I believe will be a set of the mediums. As yes, he just got on a set of mediums. We pit on the next lap, so Daniel, obviously being in front of us, gets preference for pit stops. We get the car slowed down, and it's been a pretty quick start to this race. We managed to get ahead of the Mercedes, which was good. Obviously Valtteri's on the mediums, so he's on a completely different strategy to us. He might be going hards to the end. I think that would probably be the best strategy for him to do. As we come out the pits now, a pretty shocking stop from the boys, 2.7 seconds, and we are going to be behind Stroll, Aitken, all the midfield, but we have gained a lot of time on Hamilton, nearly around 4 seconds we've gained on him actually, so pretty decent, as we are going to be trying to carve our way through the traffic. We've got to try and get past Stroll as quickly as possible. Hopefully we'll do a move into turn 1, potentially up the inside, late on the brakes, and we managed to get the move done. But we need to cut through these cars quickly because Daniel is currently stuck behind Perez and Esteban Ocon, just a few cars up the road, so we need to try and make some inroads on him whilst he's bottled up behind those guys. As now we're looking for a move on Jack Aitken, potentially up the inside into turn 10. We come from a long way back and we outbrake him and we get the move done. Obviously our 2 lap old mediums is going to be a lot better than his 10 lap old mediums, so. And our car is considerably better than the Renault, although Renault is making very good progress in the Power Performance Index. But so we try for a move on Kvyat here. He sort of squeezes a little bit on the exit, which is fine, but he leaves the door open going into turn 5 and managed to get the move done there. So now we're into 5th. As you can see, Ricciardo still hasn't got ahead of Perez as we move on to lap 12 now. Actually, we get ahead of Gasly on the main straight, and Ricciardo's moved ahead of Perez, but you can see he's only 2 seconds in front, so he's lost a considerable amount of time getting stuck behind those 2 cars. I don't think Ocon will hold up Ricciardo too much, as Ocon doesn't have anyone's DRS to slipstream off. And as you can see, Bottas is pitting now. He's going to hards as we suspected. We're going to go around the outside of Perez. Hopefully Ricciardo doesn't get past Ocon here, which he doesn't. He decides not to try and get past him. Which is an interesting decision by Ricciardo there. Maybe he's running low on ERS, or he just didn't get a good run out of the final corner. But that's definitely going to help us. So now we're going to be right on the back of Ricciardo on Ocon. Ricciardo's going to go for a move on Ocon on the main straight, so he goes on the outside. We're going to try and get as close as we can, and we're going to try and follow Ricciardo through as Ocon gets squeezed on the inside, which makes the corner more narrow for him when we get past. So the teammates overtaking his synchronization and going through here. We have a strategy change to go on to another set of mediums at the end of the race. We are not going to do that. We are going to extend these mediums as long as possible. See, they're only on 20% and we've had them on for about 7 laps. So we could do 15 laps on them and have them at about 40-50%. As Ricciardo pits on lap 20 to go on to another set of the mediums, I believe. No, he goes on to a set of hards. So that's an interesting strategy decision by Ricciardo there. He is currently 18 seconds behind, so he's going to rejoin maybe 1 to 2 seconds ahead. He is getting held up behind Valtteri here, as Valtteri obviously doing the one less stop, has gained track position, so hopefully Bottas can hold him up quite a bit. And as we put on lap 24, we're going to be sticking on a set of the softs to run the final 10 laps of this race. Another decent stop there actually, this time 2 seconds. As we re-emerge with 10 laps to go, Ricciardo is on hards and he's 2.4 seconds ahead. And at the end of lap 25, we're closing up to the back of Valtteri. We've got full ERS. We're going to have DRS on him as well, so we're just going to breeze past him here. Ricciardo sits the fastest lap of a 15 flat, and then we do a 14.8. And we're going to go around the outside of Ricciardo here. So we've got 2 seconds, around the outside of Bottas rather. We've got 2 seconds to Ricciardo up front. We should easily catch up to him, but there we get a 3-second time penalty. So what we need to do is essentially make 5 seconds up on Ricciardo, and we only have 7 laps to do it, I think. So it's going to be tough, as we go to the back of him on lap 28 now. So we're going to cross the line onto lap 29, and we're going to have 5 laps remaining to get past Ricciardo, which hopefully we can do this lap, and then pull 3 seconds over him, which should be doable. But we are running quite low on ERS as we hopefully go around the outside of Ricciardo there. He backs out there, probably not wanting to fight all too much, maybe thinking of the constructors here, or maybe thinking that Bottas could come back at him. I don't know why he gave up that position so easily. Maybe he's trying to hope to stick within 3 seconds. And now we've just got to hope that we can pull away from Ricciardo. We set the fastest lap of the race there at 1:13.9. And we're a second ahead of Daniel, so we need to find 2 seconds in 3 laps. But every lap that goes by, our softs are going to get weaker and weaker. As we now cut onto the final lap of the race, we are 2 seconds ahead of Daniel. Luckily, we've got Romain Grosjean there to give us a DRS helping hand, so that gives us another 3 to 4 tenths breathing space. And hopefully Ricciardo will catch up to Grosjean in a poor part of the track. And we're going to stay on board for this final lap, and hopefully we can keep going with this decent pace and keep Ricciardo behind us. We've got enough fuel. ERS is looking quite low, but we're not going to use it until the out of the exit of turn 9 in the main straight, so hopefully we should be okay on that front, as Ricciardo is now 2.1 seconds behind us. He's up close to the back of Grosjean, but unfortunately Ricciardo is going to get DRS of Grosjean, so he's going to lose half a second here. He's going to lose more than half a second. He's now 7 tenths, nearly 8 tenths. Well, these 2 tenths outside of the being clear of DRS, and we've unfortunately caught up to Magnussen in the final sector, so this is going to hamper us a little bit as we're coming through the final 4 corners now. Gap is 2.7 seconds. We need 3 more tenths near enough to get ahead of Ricciardo and get the win on this race. As we come through the final corner, we do have slipstream. We will have a little bit of DRS on Magnussen, and we cross the line. It's unfortunately P2. The gap was about 2.7 seconds when we crossed the line. So unfortunately that penalty did come in to bite us back at the end of the race, which is rather annoying. We caught Magnussen at the wrong place on the track there, but still a good race to come away from P2. That was my minimum expectation for this race, and we get a 1-2 for the team once again. So starting off the season, 2 races, a win for myself and Daniel, and 2 1-2s, so pretty decent. So that's the finishing order for the race. Us, me and Daniel on top there. As you see, the gap was only 0.3 of a second as we crossed the line, which is rather annoying, but yeah, well, it happens. Me and Ricardo doing the 2-stop, making it work for us. Valtteri's 1-stop, not really gained or lost him anything. Good day for the AlphaTauris, picking up some solid points there in P7 and P8. And yeah, I believe we're going to extend our lead at the top of the championship. Valtteri might get overtaken here, I'm not quite sure, we'll have a look. Yes indeed, Valtteri does get overtaken by Ricardo, so now the gap between the top 4 is 17 points, so it's looking to be a close championship, but we know how this is going to play out. Our car's going to develop really quickly compared to Mercedes, and it's already become a 2-horse race if you look at just the pure qualifying and race pace that me and Daniel both have. And the gap between us is only 5 points in the drivers, so yeah, it's gonna be tough. Luckily though, we have a very good season in store for us. Next races, Monaco, Azerbaijan, France and Austria are all very strong tracks for me. Belgium, Italy, Singapore, also strong tracks for me. The only ones I'm worried about this season, in fact, are Britain, Russia and Japan. Just because Britain, the AI is insanely overpowered there. And Japan and Russia aren't particularly strong tracks for me. But obviously the further into the season we get, we're going to be doing more second driver improvements here. We're going to be doing reaction training for Daniel, I think. So we're trying to make this as difficult for us as we can do. I believe at some point during this season I also upped the AI difficulty to 110. I don't know when that happens, but I don't think it makes all too much of a difference in the pace because I'm currently running 109 at the moment, so upping it to 110. It's going to give them maybe a tenth extra, that maybe a tenth, half a tenth, I'm not quite sure what the gap is. But we're going to be adding on some durability upgrades here, just because we don't want that to hamper us come the end of the season. Obviously we can do what we normally do and take lots of engine penalties all in one go, which I think we'll have to at some point, which is going to be difficult. Thinking about this, preparing for season 3, I should have probably done a lot more work on the durability, because the AI, my teammates at least, I very rarely have seen them take engine penalties. So maybe they're just better engine management than us, or something along those lines. I'm not quite sure what it is with them. So we're definitely going to have to build a buffer to Ricardo, and hopefully that buffer will start in Monaco. Another decent track for us. Don't know how the car will handle around here. Obviously we're having to run a lot higher downforce with given how fast these cars have become in Season 3. But it is Monaco. Hopefully we can qualify in pole, if not qualify second and potentially get him off the start, or just play the strategy to perfection. We're going to be adding some new sponsors to the car, or renewing some sponsors, I'm not quite sure which. I believe we're going to go back and do satellite, because it's a good gold bonus to have. 650k for doing 100 laps a weekend is very doable. Apart from tracks like Belgium, it's the only difficult one to do that, but I believe that's what we're going to do. Yeah, we're going to sign with satellite, and now we're going to do all of these upgrades onto the car. I don't think we're getting any upgrades coming. Oh, we are getting a couple of minor front downforce and rear downforce upgrades, so that should help the car even more and build a bigger gap to Mercedes. As we can see there, we're just further extending the gap over Mercedes. And at this point I was just I'm not thinking of changing my teammate. I was just looking at Ricardo's stats, and yeah, Ricardo's stats are very high. So what I didn't anticipate for is I actually had to save the race halfway through Spain, so I don't have a clip of like a highlights reel at the end. So yeah, we get to stare at the car whilst I sign off this video. If you did enjoy watching round 3 of my team season 3, please do let me know. Leave a like, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you all for more F1 2020 content very soon, and the next race, which will be Monaco, and hopefully we can get a good result there and start pulling on Ricciardo in the championship.